Is Apple secretly destroying your iPhone? Apple is raising prices, removing features, and they think this is a good thing.
Can't innovate anymore, my
Tim Cook has made Apple a wildly successful company. But is he also destroying Apple in the process? There is a lot of controversy happening in the world of Apple right now. People are leaving, some bad decisions are being made, and we've got new leaks on the next generation of iPhones, iPads, and Macs. And let me tell you right now, it's not looking good. Not good news. So I think it's time to have an honest conversation about Apple. Things they're doing wrong right now, things they need to fix, and what the next couple of months is gonna look like. I know some of you guys are not going to like this video, but it's time to have an honest conversation. So here we go. Love Apple or hate them, I think we can all agree that they are one of the most successful companies in the world for a reason. They make great products, for the most part, that people want to buy and use every single day. Some of us are obviously bigger fans than others. I've been making videos about Apple products for over half my life, which is sort of insane to think about. That little kid is definitely obsessed. But as good as Apple may be, and as many Apple products as I may own and buy, I don't think that gives them a free pass on controversy. And when Apple makes a mistake, they need to be called out for it. And when they lie, that should be addressed too. And before I go any further, let me make myself very clear with this one point. It is Tim Cook's job to make Apple a successful company, to work for shareholders, to make that company profitable. He's focused on numbers and the bottom line for a reason. Apple is not a charity. They're in it to make money from us. That's just the cold hard truth. And if you look at the stats and all the numbers, Tim Cook has done a wildly good job of making Apple an ultra rich and ultra successful company, one of the biggest in the world. And there is nothing wrong with that. Apple is by no means a charity. They're not supposed to be giving us free phones. This is a business, and that's how business works. But in my opinion, one of the things I'm seeing become more and more an issue with Apple these days is that they're sort of a little two-faced. On one hand, they are the good guy in the tech space. They're fighting off the Zuckerbergs and the TikToks, and they're here to be the good guy, and they protect our privacy and our data. All of that might be true and is well and good. Apple has done a lot of good stuff to protect our privacy. But on the other hand, they certainly use that excuse to do things for their own benefit, for their own selfish ambition. And sometimes it feels like they want us to thank them for having the privilege of buying a $1,000 smartphone. Apple is doing many things these days for their benefit, and they really just try to dance around the truth way too much. Like when Apple says iMessage won't come to Android because
we have to be in it in a way that's going to make a difference, that we would have a lot of customers, that we would be able to deliver great experiences.
When in reality, inside the company walls, they plainly admit it's a sort of lock-in to keep people in the iPhone universe. If Apple was truly working for the good of users and for the good of sort of forwarding the tech space and making technology more accessible, wouldn't a unified messaging platform and this rich communication services thing and all that be a good thing for us? There's even more evidence of this on the iPhone 14. For example, have we even really clearly seen a benefit to removing the SIM tray on iPhone 14 models here in the US? eSIM is fine and all, but that physical SIM tray was really nice to have. But if you're in the US, you can't have it on any single iPhone 14 model, even though Apple has been clearly shown to be putting a little Lego brick spacer sort of thing in its place. We haven't really gotten any benefit to regaining a little bit of that space. So why exactly did Apple do it? And there's another example of this with USB-C. There are many, many rumors that Apple is finally going to switch to USB-C on the iPhone 15 this coming fall, and Apple has done a good job of dancing around the subject. They say that the Lightning cable is now ubiquitous, so many people have them, and switching to an all-new port would be bad for the environment, and would be bad for consumers because they'd have to get this whole new cable. But on the other hand, wouldn't having one single unified port to rule them all be a good thing? I feel like most people have USB-C cables these days. They would love to use one cable with their iPhone and other products, and the fact that Apple has USB-C and other products of their own, on the iPad for example, and they love to tout the versatility of that port when it's convenient for them, and then just sort of not mention it when it comes to the iPhone, just sort of really doesn't sit well with me. And then there's the whole mess with the current iPad lineup. It's incredibly confusing these days. You've got the Mini, you've got the 9th gen, you've got the 10th gen, you got the Air, you got the Pro, all serving different groups at different price points with some really weird overlapping and missing features. Like, why does the 10th gen iPad have a landscape camera that's arguably better than the portrait camera that is on the much more expensive iPad Pro? And how does the new Apple TV have a more powerful processor than this brand new 10th gen iPad? And I would love to know who at Apple thought this was a proper way to adopt and charge an Apple Pencil on the brand new iPad. It's not like the Apple Pencil 2 doesn't exist. I understand there are compromises that need to be made, but this just seems crazy and frankly, very un-Apple-like. And there are many different examples of different features and different products at different price points in the current Apple ecosystem. And I think that's a really big sort of a staple of Tim Cook's tenure at Apple, and one where he very much differed from Steve Jobs. Remember, Steve Jobs famously came back to Apple and shredded many of the different products that Apple was offering to focus on like 4 quadrants and making a couple of great products and not a lot of good products. And you could say these days, Apple certainly does make some really amazing products, but I feel like they make way more good products than they do a few great, amazing products. It seems like Apple is so driven by numbers and they're so concerned with having so many different products and different features at different price points that they lose out on selling some really good products, and sort of the whole Apple ecosystem suffers. Now, yes, it's great to have different products at different price points, but you also end up in this situation where Apple is keeping around old and outdated products that shouldn't be bought by anyone just to say they've got a lower, more affordable option. There's also the interesting theory that Apple is purposefully degrading current products to make them worse, so the newer product seems better, faster, and more feature-packed. Funny enough, a couple of weeks ago, we saw that AirPods Pro owners were actually getting some of the newer AirPods Pro 2022 features in their older models and some beta updates, but then Apple said, sorry, it's a bug, it's not actually coming to your older AirPods. Apple was also notoriously criticized for throttling old iPhones, which many said they were doing on purpose to slow them down to make the newer phones seem faster. And also, as of a couple of weeks ago, another report says that Apple's active noise cancellation in AirPods Max has gotten measurably worse in newer updates than it was in older updates. Wait a second. Apple's very expensive AirPods Max, the active noise cancellation has gotten worse with newer firmware updates. Could very well be a bug, but many say that Apple is preparing to degrade these to make room for AirPods Max version 2. I'm not saying that's the case. You gotta put on your tinfoil hat for that one, but just thought I'd share that little nugget of news. And there are more recent examples, like Apple's controversial push with ads in their own apps. Also, their very staunch stance that Stage Manager was technically impossible on older iPad Pros that didn't have the new Apple Silicon M1 chip. And then after some outcry from people, they were able to sort of make that happen magically with some limitations, but it's still there. I know obviously it's Apple's job again to sell new products, but the lengths in which they will go to market things and make the impossible possible when people want it, and some of this stuff just really doesn't make sense. Okay, so let's take a breath, let's exhale. I feel like this video has been very, very critical about Apple and very negative, and for that I apologize, and I don't want to make this a whole negative Apple video. But instead, I want to have a frank discussion about Apple's shortcomings in 2022 as we go into 2023. Obviously, Apple's doing amazing. They're breaking records. They are making tons of money. They've got, like I said, some really great products. This MacBook Pro that I've got off to the side here on my desk is one of the best computers I've ever owned. I love my iPhone 14 Pro, my new AirPods Pro, my Apple Watch Ultra. I'm a sucker for the new stuff. I love the Apple products and I love the Apple ecosystem, and Apple does many things incredibly well, better better than the competition, better than Samsung, better than Android. I am not afraid to share my hot takes and my controversial views. But I also think it's very fair and very appropriate and very necessary to talk about when Apple misses the mark, when they get things wrong, and to discuss what they could do to get things back on track. And with the recent announcement of the departure of Apple's chief industrial designer, Evans Hankey, I think many are wondering where Apple's design language specifically is going to go in the next 3 to 5 years. Since Johnny Ive left Apple the past couple of years, it seems like designs have gotten better. Apple is focused less on form and more on function. They have brought back ports, they have made things thicker, they have added bigger batteries. Many are very excited about this. And with this recent shakeup in the design leadership team, many are curious as to where Apple goes from here. Are they going to double down on these reports of putting in fake buttons and eventually removing ports and making a portless, buttonless iPhone? Are they going to continue to give us what we want and to listen to customers and focus more on function and less on form? What are we going to see from Apple in the next 2, 3, or 4 years? And especially when Tim Cook officially leaves the company, which he said probably after the next big product he might make his exit, what does Apple look like? And what does the next chapter and next generation, so to speak, of Apple look like in the next couple of years? Like I said, more than anything, as much as I love Apple, I love to have discussions on what went wrong and what could be fixed. And I'm curious to know your thoughts on the current state of Apple right now. Is Apple treading water? Are they going in a good direction? Are they going in a bad direction? What do you think Apple can improve on in 2022 and really as we enter into 2023 to make them more competitive and more of a great company for you? Are you happy with the current lineup? Would you like to see some changes? Do you think that Apple is really the good guy they say they are? Or do you think that there are some ulterior motives there? Let me know your thoughts down below on the current state of Apple. And if I am totally wrong in your opinion, I'm happy to take that criticism as well. Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for watching the Apple Circle. I appreciate it. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I'll see you all in the next one.